Your fingers are the problem, not the screen. We've all been there. You're trying to close a tiny X on your mobile ad, or when you're typing a fast message and instead of pressing the M, you press N repeatedly. It's been nearly 20 years since the first iPhone changed the world, yet even with the most expensive devices in 2026, touchscreens still feel clunky. They still feel like they're guessing. And the truth is, they are guessing. Today, we're looking at the physics of the fat finger problem and why the perfect touchscreen might be a mathematical impossibility. Hey everyone, welcome back to the South Arrow Network. This is Tech Talks with Hasnan. Today, we're diving into the interface that we use more than any other, the touchscreen. We are going to explain why your screen struggles to understand your hand, the ghost of latency, and why your finger is actually the worst tool for the job. To understand the inaccuracy, we first have to understand how the screen actually knows you're there. Most modern devices use capacitive touch. Your screen isn't just glass. It's a grid of microscopic transparent wires with an electrical charge running through them. Because the human body is conductive, meaning we actually hold electrical charge, when you touch the glass of your smartphone, you act as a giant capacitor. You literally steal a tiny bit of electricity from the electrical grid at that specific point. The device measures where the voltage drop happened and says, "Alright, this is where someone touched the screen." This works beautifully for scrolling or swiping. But when it comes to precision, we hit a massive physical wall. Unlike a mouse, which is a single pixel point on your screen, your finger is a large, squishy, irregular blob of organic material. When you press down, you aren't touching a single point. You're touching a contact patch that covers hundreds of different sensors in that grid at once. Because your finger covers a large area, the phone has to use an algorithm to guess where the center of your touch is. This is called Centroid calculation. The phone looks at the blob of electrical interference you've created and tries to find the mathematical middle. But here's the catch. Depending on the angle of your finger, how hard you're pressing, or even how much moisture is on your skin, that center shifts dramatically. If you use the tip of your finger, the contact patch is small. If you use the pad, it's large. If you're holding your phone with one hand and using your thumb, the angle is slanted. The phone is constantly trying to compensate for these variables using touch models to predict what you meant to hit. When you miss that tiny X on an ad, it's often because the math guessed that the center of your thumb was 2 pixels to the left of where you thought it was. Now, sometimes even if the screen gets the position right, it can still feel off because of latency. Latency is the delay between your physical movement and the pixels on the screen responding. But in reality, your touch has to be detected by the digitizer, be processed by the touch controller, be sent to the CPU, be calculated by the app, and finally be rendered by the GPU onto the screen. While high-end phones now have 120Hz or even 240Hz of touch sampling rates, there is still a tiny lag that our brains can perceive. If you move your finger across the screen very quickly, you'll notice that the content trails behind your fingertip. That tiny gap creates a sense of disconnect. It breaks the illusion that you are actually touching the data, making the whole experience feel floaty or inaccurate. This is why artists or note takers still use something called a stylus, like the Apple Pencil or the S Pen. A stylus doesn't rely on the squishy blob of your finger. Most high-end styluses use active signals or electromagnetic resonance, EMR. The tip of the pen is a precise hard point. There is no centroid calculation needed because the contact area is essentially a single point. Furthermore, a stylus can communicate its tilt and pressure directly to the screen via Bluetooth or radio frequency. Your fingers, on the other hand, can't do that. A stylus removes the guesswork, which is why you can draw a hair-thin line with a pen but struggles to sign your name with your finger. Now let's talk about the wet screen disaster. We've all experienced the ghost touch when a drop of rain or a sweaty palm makes your phone go crazy opening apps and typing anything. This happens because water is also conductive. To the capacitive grid, a drop of water looks exactly like a finger. The phone's processor gets overwhelmed trying to figure out which conductive blob it needs to register, and therefore it goes crazy. Engineers have tried to fix this with water reject algorithms that look for a specific electrical signature of your finger versus a drop of water. But it's an uphill battle. As long as we use electricity to detect touch, anything that conducts electricity will interfere with accuracy. Now, let's talk about why the perfect touch may never exist. Will we never have a screen that feels as precise as a physical button? Probably not with our current biology. The final barrier isn't the screen. It's haptic feedback. When you press a physical key on a keyboard, your brain receives the tactile confirmation the millisecond the switch clicks. On a piece of glass, you have no such feedback. While haptic engines, those tiny vibration motors on your phone, try to simulate this feel of click, it's still an imitation. Without the physical sensation of an edge or a button, your brain is always working with a level of uncertainty. You are blind typing on a flat surface, and that lack of physical boundary is the ultimate source of our inaccuracy. The reality of 2026 is that we have reached the peak of what capacitive glass can do. Our phones aren't getting more accurate. Instead, our software is getting better at correcting us. Autocorrect, predictive text, and target expansion, which is basically where a button's hitbox is actually larger than the button itself, are the only reasons why we can use these devices at all. We are living in a world of software-assisted reality. So the next time you misspell a word or miss a button, don't blame your coordination. Blame the physics of electricity and the fact that you're trying to perform a high-precision task with a low-precision tool. We've traded the accuracy of the stylus and the precision of the keyboard for the convenience of the pocket-sized glass. And that is a decision and a trade that we make every single day. So, does your phone have the habit of misunderstanding your thumb, or have you mastered the art of the glass? Let me know in the comments down below. If you found this look at the science of touchscreens interesting, hit that like button and also press that subscribe button to our YouTube channel. As always, thank you so much for watching the content, and I will see you in the next one.